The wise in heart will receive commandments, but a prating fool shall fall. Wise in heart. There's a figure of speech you don't hear nowadays. Again, the heart is not seen in these verses as the figurative center or core essence of a person. It is depicted literally as where thoughts, intentions, knowledge, and wisdom are housed. The heart of the righteous studieth to answer. Here we have a studious heart, another figure of speech that has sadly fallen into disuse these days. The heart of the prudent gets knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. Now we could say this one is rather figurative regarding the ear. Ears don't seek anything, much less knowledge, but the meaning is clear. By listening, we can learn. And this is linked to the heart once again, supporting the idea that the heart is where cognition happens. It is the heart that gains knowledge. This doesn't even make a good figure of speech, but it does make sense if the ancient Israelites believed that the heart was in charge of thinking. For as he thinks in his heart, so is he. Well, that's just what I was saying. And another of my favorite apologist verses. The fool has said in his heart, "There is no God." Damn it. Again, the thoughts are shown to be happening in the heart muscle, not the brain. Speaking of facts, now would be a good time for a fun Bible fact. In all of the Bible, almost 800,000 words, there is not one mention of the brain. Oh heck, let's just go crazy. Here's another fun fact. There are over 1,000 references to the human heart in the Bible. 1,038, according to Young's literal translation. Heart, 1,038. Brain, 0. Is this because the authors just loved figurative speech so much that they had to speak figuratively about the heart 1,038 times and never refer to it literally even once? Or is it because they believed that the heart was where thinking and emotions occurred? The Hebrew word for heart is lave. That's right, it's pronounced lave. Strong's Hebrew 3820. And yet, be forewarned, most places online will try to convince you that these are all figurative references to the heart, all 1,038 of them. But this completely goes against the common beliefs of that place and that time when the Bible was created, as I have shown earlier in this video. Let's have a look at a verse from the New Testament. Beware, brethren, lest there be in any of you an evil heart of unbelief in departing from the living God. The heart's job is primarily to pump blood and not to believe or doubt, as that requires a brain. But let's pause here and ask, could this simply be a way of saying the center of a person, the very core of that person, instead of the actual heart muscle? The ancient Greek word for heart is cardia. This is where we get our modern English words cardiac, cardioid, meaning heart-shaped, cardiology, the study of the heart, cardiovascular, and so forth. The strange thing is that the Greeks had words for thought and word, logos, and soul, psyche, and mind, nous. But the words heart and hearts appear almost 200 times in the New Testament in conjunction with thoughts and emotions. So the question is, why would they continue to use the term heart if they already had a word that represented thoughts and soul and mind? Could the answer be that they actually believed the heart generated the thoughts and the emotions and processed the senses? Is it possible they actually believed that the heart was the storehouse of the mind, which would allow them to say heart in place of saying mind? Here are a few more heart passages. For the word of God is living and powerful, and sharper than any two-edged sword, piercing even to the division of soul and spirit, and of joints and marrow, and is a discerner of the thoughts and intents of the heart. Now let me pose another question. Suppose all 1,038 references to the heart in the Bible were just figures of speech. This would mean that the ancient Israelites knew something that they couldn't know at the time, and that went against pretty much every other culture's belief, even the ones only 100 miles away. And they knew something that wouldn't truly be known for another 2,000 years. And that although they knew the brain was where thinking really occurred, for some strange reason, they never mentioned the brain once in any of these 1,038 references to thinking and intentions, and decided to write them all figuratively, just picking one organ in particular from the human body. How likely is that? Here's another example. Beloved, if our heart does not condemn us. Ooh, that sounds a little Egyptian, doesn't it? We have confidence toward God. Can we read this in any other way than by interpreting it to mean mind or conscience? Because how could a muscle condemn a person? But if we replace heart with mind, thoughts, or conscience, it reads perfectly fine, scientifically correct, and still in line with the ancient beliefs. The point is, if we can so easily interchange heart with mind or conscience or thoughts, it stands to reason that the ancients believed the heart actually housed the mind and conscience. Here's another example that sounds silly when you really stop and think about it. But Mary kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. In Greek, this literally says that Mary pondered or thought about what the shepherds said concerning her newborn Messiah, and she thought about this in her cardia, her heart muscle, the organ that pumps blood through her body. We don't ponder something in our heart muscle, our bowels, our kidneys. We ponder it in our brains, in our minds. And this verse makes little sense if you replace heart with innermost being. No, she thought about it with her heart. In other words, where the author believed was the place where thoughts were generated. Now, for those of you not yet convinced that the Bible is speaking literally about an internal organ that pumps blood as being the center of thought, here's a thought. How silly would it sound if this verse read, "Beloved, if our kidneys do not condemn us, we have confidence toward God"? That would be pretty darn silly. Or what about a verse that claims God searches the kidneys of mankind? We'd all agree that sounds ridiculous, right? Because it makes no sense. It doesn't even make sense figuratively, since the kidneys are really not the center of our torsos, nor the deepest part, for that matter. The heart would be the most likely choice if that were the case. Well, hold on to your adrenal glands, because we're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. I, the Lord, search the heart. I test the kidneys, even to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his doings. Nothing says I love you more than a pair of chocolate kidneys on Valentine's Day. But that verse couldn't mean that the Bible authors really believed that the heart and kidneys were both involved in the cognition process, right?
No, it's not true. That's impossible.
It's just symbolism, figurative, right? I mean, it couldn't possibly be that those ancient Israelites believed our minds were housed inside the heart and kidneys, right? It's just a figure of speech, meaning our inmost parts, our souls, our core essence, right? Oh, let the wickedness of the wicked come to an end, but establish the just, for the righteous God tests the hearts and kidneys. I will bless the Lord who has counseled me. Indeed, my kidneys instruct me in the night. What the? Examine me, O Lord, and prove me. Try my kidneys and my heart. No thanks, I just ate. But seriously, wouldn't it have been easier just to write, test my soul, or test my intentions, or maybe search my mind or brain. So to specifically mention the heart and kidneys is quite telling, because the author has linked them together for some reason, and we can hopefully see by now what that reason is. But, O Lord of hosts, you who judge righteously, testing the kidneys and the heart. You have planted them, yes, they have taken root. They grow, yes, they bear fruit. You are near in their mouth, but far from their kidneys. Here, if we replace kidneys with thoughts, the verse makes perfect sense. The ones referred to are giving lip service, but God is far from their thoughts. This is identical to Isaiah 29:13, which says, "For as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me." We see that kidneys and heart in this concept are interchangeable. That's because thoughts and emotions were both considered as originating in the heart and kidneys, but not by just a few isolated Hebrews. Remember the Egyptians? When they embalmed a body, they would leave the heart and oftentimes the kidneys untouched inside the body. But, O Lord of hosts, you who test the righteous and see the kidneys and heart. Now, in all the previous kidney verses, I have replaced the antiquated word reins, found in some translations, with the English word kidneys, since this is what the actual Hebrew word kilya means. Also, notice how many of these verses linked the heart to the kidneys as being somehow both involved in the thought processes of humans. This link with the kidneys is further proof that we are dealing with literal uses of the word heart. Now, here is the only verse in the New Testament that mentions kidneys. It's Revelation 2:23.